Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fantasy Golf Picks. My name is Sophie Walker. This is Kit Alexander. And today we are going to look forward to the Cazoo Classic. So we've already had the Cazoo Open. They're everywhere, aren't they? Are they car people, Kit?
It's the ones where you order a car and it turns up on your doorstep, I think.
Like Amazon. Amazing.
Amazon for cars. Yeah, there's a few of them that have sprung up, but Cazoo are the ones chucking their money at the European Tour. So let's go with Cazoo.
Yeah, so it's at the London Club, isn't it? What course is it? There's two there, right?
Yeah, there's two. There's the International and the Heritage. So this week we're on the Heritage. Par 72, stock par 72, 4 par 5s, 4 par 3s, the rest par 4s. 7,327 yards, so sort of middling in length, you would say, for the European Tour. There's been a fair bit of rain around the country in general in the early part of this week and the previous weekend, but I think prior to that it's been reasonably dry, so I think the course itself is fiery-ish, but perhaps with a hint of that taken out of it with the rain we've had, and the forecast for the week itself ahead looks pretty decent, moderate winds. It's quite an elevated course, the Heritage, actually. So it can get a bit windy there. In terms of previous, whether the European Tour's been there, yep, 2008, 2009 European Open was at the Heritage. We had winning scores of 7 under for Christian Surveyor, who was a very short hitter. And then Ross Fisher, who's quite a longish hitter, won it in -20. Worth noting, though, when Fisher won it in -20, second was -13. So he just had an unbelievable week. So that's slightly, so I think we're looking at winning score-wise somewhere between, I would say between 12 and 16, probably. We're going to hit in that middle area there. Yeah, I think on a par 72 where, if you're the bigger hitters in the field, all 4 of the par 5 should be reachable. Likelihood it will be set up with 1 reachable par 4 as well. So in theory, a big hitter could give themselves 5 eagle putts in a round. Even the shorter hitters will be going in wedge to these kind of places. So there are scoring opportunities there, even though it will play toughish with it being fiery, and if the wind gets up a little bit, which it might well do. There was also the World Match Play there in 2014, but that was on the international course. So if you're just looking for a little bit of a guide on what kind of players were coming through and who did well that week, different golf course, so don't really value that. But yeah, 08, 09, so we're looking a while ago, but it can give us a tiny example as to what kind of golfer has done well there in the past. And the answer is there isn't really a clear trend. The leaderboards were a mix of long hitters, short hitters, ball strikers, scramblers. So there isn't really, from what we've seen historically, one way of doing well around this Heritage golf course.
Yeah, have you played there? You've been there? Yeah.
I have. I've played the International, I want to say like a handful of times, 3 or 4, and I think I've played the Heritage once. I think it was when I used to work on Today's Golfer, and it was in a match play against Steve Backley. And
right, the javelin thrower.
The javelin thrower, and it might even have been, I don't think it was Steve Redgrave. It was another Olympian-y type. Yeah, guy who liked his golf, and I played a match against them for a feature. But I don't remember it a great deal. I remember it was Steve Backley, but I can't remember much about the course. But it is a kind of parklandy, slightly elevated, pretty generous fairways, pretty generous greens, but quite a bit of water on it as well. So
design,
you've got room. Yeah, you've got room. It's Nicklaus, yeah. So you've normally got a little bit of room, but if you're way off target, you can lose balls, basically.
Yeah, so what everyone needs to appreciate is Nicklaus designs a course of what he likes. So it is wide enough off the fairway. There'll be lots of left to right dog legs, lots of water, lots of bunkers. I've played it a couple of times, and I just remember that there are loads of bunkers, like an amazing amount of bunkers. And yeah, it does get windy. I checked the weather, and I think Friday is going to be the windiest, but kind of 12 mile an hour. So yeah, nothing too significant there. So who are you going for?
Well, I was going to chuck it back on you. You've
Okay,
played it and you
I'll
remember
go
it.
first.
So I want to hear what your takes are before I chuck mine in, because I think you, course-wise, have a little bit more insight than me potentially.
Yeah,
Here, so.
I've gone, well, obviously, to be quite honest, the guy I go with every single time is Wiesberger. He's the favourite, obviously. And he's hitting 71% of greens in regulation. He's got a stroke average of 70. He's won 8 times on tour, but what is key is he's won 4 times in the last, well, just over two years. But he's won. So I was doing a bit of research on it, and basically he's won 4 times out of 34 regular European Tour events. So if you get rid of, in the nicest possible way to Wiesberger, the majors, the WGCs, that type of, he does really well. I mean, he did win the Rolex series in Scotland, but he does great in this type of field. So I'm thinking 4 times in like 34 starts. That's good. He didn't go to the Olympics. So that must mean that he's going, hang on a minute, I want to focus on trying to get in the Ryder Cup. And every year you see somebody just pushes, don't you? And he's, well, look, his world ranking is 66 in the world, which is like significantly better than most there. For me, he's just a solid performer. I know you have your favourites, I have mine, so I'm not expecting Wiesberger to be in your team. But anyway,
Do you know what? I am going with Wiesberger this week.
Right.
I think I was umming and ahhing, and then that stat you just produced, I read it courtesy of Ben Coley, so shout out to him. He's obviously does his research. So I was umming and ahhing about Wiesberger. I had a little dig around, came across that stat that he does perform well when it is, in inverted commas, a normal European Tour event. And bearing in mind the field, that's tipped it to me. So I think I'm going to put Wiesberger in as well. And he really, really wants that Ryder Cup spot. Yeah. That's why he's playing this week when he could have taken time off. Or, you know, a lot of the other players of his kind of ilk, his kind of stature are in and out of these tournaments, not playing loads of them right now. He wants that Ryder Cup spot. He was in the team room in Paris. They tend to, sort of the year before, they'll invite 3 or 4 players who they think might look to be in the team in the future, just to come, have a look, see what it's about, acclimatise, walk around. He was one of those in Paris. He really, really wants to be there. There's a massive carrot for him. I think he's going to go all guns blazing at this event and this next little run we've got coming up. So normally I do shy away from Wiesberger a little bit, as you said, but he's going in for me this week as well. Who's the rest of your lineup?
John Catlin. Another
of your favourites.
Another of my favourites. Watched him at ISPS. Like, we commentated on him actually, and I quite admire him. Like, he totally does it his own way, Kit. I mean, he's hitting 2 irons off tees. I think he's got 2 like utility irons that he'll hit. Others might hit driver. He's got no problems coming into a green with whatever iron he wants. You know, it's not. Well, you go, oh, what are you doing coming in with a 6 iron? They're coming in with wedges. But he's like, well, no, because if I play this 4 times in a row, this is a hard hole. So there was one hole which was like 13, was water all the way down the right-hand side. And there was trees all the way down the left. And he kind of committed to go, do you know what? I'll take 4 pars on 13 all week long, rather than risk having a really bad hole. Which you saw like Dave Horsey do and stuff. So I really quite like watching him. And I did think, oh, maybe his game's not going to transfer to other type of courses. Like, I was thinking, you know, where he's won. And then I'm like, so where's he's won? Valderrama and the Irish Open. Like, they're not, it's totally different. Obviously, of course.
He does well when the scoring's tougher. And I think it's because of that bit of strategy and that thinking. You know, it might be doing him a disservice. You don't look at him and think he's ever going to tear somewhere apart and win in a sort of 18, 20, 22 under total. However, if it's tough, and the heritage has previously been tough, he knows how to gut it out and get the job done at a tough golf course, 100%.
Well, he's first on the European Tour in strokes gained tee to green. And for a guy that thinks that way, like, you know, it was, now we're thinking just hit it 1,000,000 miles and get as close to the green as you can, but he's not. And actually, that's
an incredible statistic for a guy that isn't a bomber. Incredible statistic.
Unbelievable. So he's had 2 top 5s and he's had 3 top 10s this year. Not won yet. Is that right? Not won. Can't remember. Has he won? Been out here for ages.
Back end of last year, I think.
Back end of last year. And then I need to double check this. Is Vincent Norman in the field?
Yeah, he is. He's there on an invite. Our boy Vinny.
Yeah. So he's only played in 5 European Tour events as a pro. He's finished top 15 4 times. Like, his stroke average is under 70, and he's just got it, hasn't he? Like, it's amazing.
I love him. I've just got to say, we've done John Catlin a disservice there. He won in Austria earlier this year.
That was it. Yeah, I thought he had. Yeah,
he had one this year. But yeah, I'm right with you, Vincent Norman.
Sorry, again. Yeah,
I'm right with you, Vincent Norman.
You to be fair, he's your man that you put on to, like, you put him on to me, and like, as I say, it's just, some people just fit. They just come and they're just all right. You never know. It could be the first year, and then a lot of the time, the second year, people struggle. But Kit, we're working on right now, and right now he's got to go in. My other couple ones,
it's ball striking, and if someone comes in and they're crazy hot with a putter, and that's what's getting them results, it's not that can't be continued, but that's harder to continue than if you've just got a really solid ball striking tee to green game. And Vincent Norman does that. It's not often you see that completely abandon someone. Yes, it happens. But if you see someone on a hot stretch of golf and they're leaning on the putter for that, more than likely that bubble is going to burst. And when it bursts in a bigger way than if someone's on a hot stretch of form and they're leaning on the long tee to green game, I would say. Would you agree?
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast with Mark Brodie, which is the Strokes Gained, the guy behind Strokes Gained. And basically, he said exactly the same. The best players in the world are the best tee to green in the world. And when they win, they have a hot week with the putter. That's it. And the variable needs to be with the putter, not with everything else. So that's when you so for instance, somebody like Rory Mcilroy, when he's at the best and when he was at the top, he was being first or second in strokes gained tee to green. He's now dropped to outside the top 10. I think last time I looked, he was about 11th, which doesn't seem a lot, but that's massive for Rory Mcilroy. And then if you look at Colin Morakawa gains on the field every 18 holes, 1.5 shots. So he's 6 shots ahead at the start of a tournament of anybody else. Like, that's remarkable, which is why.
That's why when he has a decent putting week, he wins. Scotland,
no. Open, yeah. So I would always look at that if you're thinking, about people. So my other one is Callum Shinquin that I'm going to stick in. He's from kind of, southeast. I'm not very good with my geography down south, but he's got that accent. So tick. I would expect him to have played the London Club a few times. He was 16th last week. He came 4th at the Celtic Manor, which was a Cazoo Open as well. He's very good tee to green. Very, very good tee to green. So he's one that I'm going to stick in, which I think it's the first time he's featured in one of my groups. And I'm also going to put Ryan Fox in, just because, I just think it's coming. It's coming, like 74, 69, 69, 67 last week. And I'm going to wait for you to pick yours, because there's a couple that I thought as well. So I'll let you take the stage.
Right, well, I'm going to jump in and go. Wiesberger is in my team.
Yeah.
Norman is in my team as well. Apart from that, I don't see us having too many similarities. We actually had all 6 different last week, which I think is probably the first time that's ever happened. And to continue on my thing a little bit. No, well, I did. So I had Santis Harrio and Hugo Leon. So I've had this little. I'm going with guys that are playing well on the Challenge Tour, carrying form, and I think they can step up, or they've shown they can step up, doing it in a European Tour field that isn't going to overawe them too much. And I'm continuing that this week with Chase Hannah. So
That-
three
I
tied six in a row for the American, 27 years old, I believe. Three tied six in a row. The first of those came on the Challenge Tour, and then in his last two European Tour starts as well. He's a ball striking machine, harking back to kind of what we've just been talking about there and the value of that. So he's going in my team. And then I think Hugo Leon's an interesting one. I'm still umming and ahhing about him. You know, I put him forward last week and he had a decent week. So decent, but not great. I think Masahiro Kawamura has to go in again for me. I had him last week off the back of two top fives. He was never quite in contention last week, but finished strongly, had a really good closing round. I think it was 8 under off the top of my head in the final round to get himself up into a tie for 16th. So again, he's just playing good golf. No reason to take him out, having backed him last week. Same goes for David Law, but even more emphatically backing it up last week. 4th place finish off the back of a nice little run of form. I thought he would do well last week, and he has done. So he is definitely going in as well. So I've got Wiesberger, Law, Kawamura, Hannah.
Hannah's going in mine. Hannah's going in mine.
Yeah,
I didn't see your picks. So me and Kit do some 3 picks each, and I was just doing my little bit this morning. I thought I'll just click on the email to see what I wrote, and then I saw yours, Chase Hannah, and I was like, yeah, good. Like, and it's great. You click on them, there's no stats. It's brilliant, isn't it? You're literally just going, well, he's played all right recently. Yeah.
Well, do you know what I do? I found it's interesting. I found a balance. I think I was leaning a bit too heavily on stats earlier in the season, interestingly. And I was going like, what's the profile I want for this course? And then just kind of looking at the stats of the players who I wanted, rather than going a little bit on gut instinct or the eye test, you know, seeing someone and what they can do. Or is this guy just playing the golf of his life? Like Santiago Tarrio, like Hugo Leon, like Chase Hannah. They're just playing really good golf, and how they're doing that almost doesn't matter. If you put someone who's an elite golfer on a golf course and their confidence is flying, they're playing the best golf of their life, chances are they'll find a way to figure it out. And you back someone going in with confidence and form over someone that doesn't. So that's my thinking. I've tried to just balance out a little bit of obviously knowing what suits the course we're playing and the tournament. Also, just with a little bit of, do you know what? Do I fancy that person? Do I think they're going to go well this week? What's my gut instinct? Is their form good? And I've had a little bit of success in recent weeks, more so by doing that.
Yeah, well, I think so. I mean, I kind of like to talk about the people that, you know, can't go in as well after you finish yours, because we're getting to that stage now where it's like you say, there's some reasonable names in the field that have just not done much recently. So do you want to finish your last couple, and then we'll talk about that?
So my last couple, I've got, well, I put Richard Bland in my European Tour expert picks. He's coming in off of a 3-week break. He was playing excellently prior to that. Obviously, he had the win. He had a couple more sort of top fives. Was up there in the US Open early on. Made the cut in the Open as well. So playing well. 3-week break, tiny concern. Not really that worried about it, in all honesty. He needed it to refresh. It had been a very busy and you know, intense period for him with everything that he'd achieved and where he'd been playing. And I like that he's very high up in bogey avoidance as well. I think 6th on tour in bogey avoidance, 8th on tour in bogey avoidance, scoring average of 69.69. Bogey avoidance will be important this week, I think. Obviously, it's always important to keep them off the card, but there are some weeks more so than others. So I'm erring towards Richard Bland as well. And then it might be between, I think it's between Callum Hill and Hugo Leon again for my final pick.
Yeah, Callum Hill is just, I mean, he's in my team quite a lot. He's just steady as and just performs well all the time. And it's, well, everyone always thinks it's a matter of time before he wins, but he hasn't yet. So Daniel Hilly is another one that is one of those on form. And I think that's from me watching him as well. Like, I was really impressed with him in Northern Ireland. He bogeyed the first on the third round, and he wobbled hugely early on, and then came back great. And he hit, his swing is just mint, like he rips through it. So yeah, it's like you're saying, form of your life type people. That's somebody to think about as well. But I normally go with people that are quite like, I go with names as well. And I think like the Andy Sullivan for me is the one, which I mean, I put him in all the time normally, and I'm going to leave him out and he'll probably win, but that's my kind of significant name that I'm just not putting in this week.
Yeah, up until a couple of weeks ago, I was putting him in thinking it was coming. It had to come in these fields and the kind of courses he performs well at, and it just hasn't. Haven't had him the last week or two, and I won't this week as well. I'd love to see Andy get back in the winning circle. He's a great lad, really talented player. Just can't see it at the moment for him, unfortunately.
And then who else is there? Like Chris Wood, Brandon Stone. There's some names up there.
Well, Grant Forrest, obviously incredible win last week, but first-time winner, played brilliantly to win. You know, do you ride the momentum with him? He's someone I was considering, or because it's a first-time win, does it take it out of you and there's a little bit of a drop-off the next week? Sometimes you never quite know. It's weird. I'm almost more confident about David Law this week than I am Grant Forrest, whereas you should be thinking, well, Grant Forrest won the event. David Law only finished fourth.
Yeah.
Forrest played the better golf and his winner.
Like, I mean, Jonathan Caldwell kind of missed quite a lot of cuts after, but then saying that, they were quite big events that he then got into. So he's missing cuts at Rolex Series, Open Championships, or then he kind of comes back to the regular events and starts to fit in again. It wouldn't bother me at all putting him back in, just because it's a similar type of field. I think when you win and you suddenly get in, he was in this event anyway. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I felt with Jonathan, he was suddenly like, oh my God, like, here we go. This is it. So it will be that. I mean, Victor Perez is playing. You think he'll tee it up?
His tee to green game at the moment is...
That's what I'm saying. It's shot, isn't it? There's a lot of people on here that you would kind of go, oh, you know, but Hao Tong Lee, I mean, he's not very good at the minute, bless him. But yeah, so there's a few that, like Sammy Valimaki, beginning of the year, get him in. Not done anything.
Rasmus Højgaard's back in action on the European Tour as well. You know, a guy with 2 wins already. But again, it's that, do you go with the guy who's got the wins and a little bit of a name to himself and's a bit higher up the world rankings, but doesn't have the form, or is carrying the form? And in most instances, to be honest, I'm just leaning towards the guys who are playing the better golf at the moment and are going to be more confident.
No, I totally agree. So, like, comment below, everybody. What are you doing? Are you going big names, or are you going on form? And I think we've really had to work out, haven't we, over the last few months? Originally, like you said, it was just stats because you didn't know. Like, and now actually it's been nice. And me and Kit have actually been going out to the golf courses recently and seeing a few of the guys, and you can really get a sense for it, like when they're on the range and if they're working on anything, or if they've got their coach out with them. Quite often, if they've got their coach out with them, it might not go great that week, but then it sinks in and it finally gets good a couple of weeks later. Or the ones I find that have their like psychologists out with them, they do amazing that week. Like, that's another thing.
Well, Eric Van Rooyen just won the opposite field event on the PGA Tour, the Barracuda. Obviously, there was the WGC. He literally 2 weeks ago started working with a new psychologist called Duncan McCarthy, who I know, and also has got a baby girl at home who's a month old. So if you want an illustration of what outside factors can do, obviously the nappy factor, often when golfers have their first child, there is a bit of a bounce there in their form. And as you've just said, working with a new psychologist or having an existing psychologist just there for a little top up, there can be that little bump. And that's exactly what's happened to Eric Van Rooyen. So all of these little factors, which can be sometimes tricky to find, but with social media, that stuff is more available if you do go looking for it and you follow these guys. Or as Sophie says, when we're able to get to events, which we have been doing a lot more so through the summer, these are the little things you can pick up on and can just prove that, give you that little edge.
Yeah. Well, I think we've just wrapped it up there. So thank you everybody for watching. As I say, comment below who are you picking and like, subscribe our video. So yeah, I'm off to Scotland. And Kit, what are you doing this week?
I'm at Luton Who this week with the Euro Pro Tour, and I will be doing commentary in the Czech Republic for the Czech Masters next week on the European Tour. So I'll be out there.
Right then, nice to see you again, Kit.
Cheers, Soph.